Paris Blockchain Week, and we talked about risk and compliance in blockchain industry. Could you tell me more about RiskOps-as-a-Service that provides your company? This is not common designation of the as-a-service companies. What does it mean, and how you help in other companies?
So risk management, more generally, is an area that is well understood in traditional business, but it hasn't really been a significant focus in the crypto space, which makes sense because risk, security, like insurance and other kinds of administrative capabilities tend to be what you focus on after you grow up, right? In the early stages, you're building, you don't think about security or regulatory compliance, or operations risk. But for us, we want to bring, as a strategic risk partner, our capabilities to DeFi to elevate them. And so when we think about risk operations, we think about bringing largely DeFi, but broader crypto protocols, the ability to manage not just the growth of their protocol, but the healthy growth of their protocol while dealing with operations issues, regulatory compliance issues, financial risk, and security risk, cyber risk.
What do you think, whether it's a common practice in the Web3 world, in fact, to think about this, that you need to be compliant just from the beginning, handle all your risks among your clients or among your vision of the industry? What do you think? Is this the trend now or not yet?
I think that companies are becoming more cautious about building a business properly, being compliant, which is, I think, very important if we think about that we really want crypto to go mainstream. Then you need to be compliant from day one, because otherwise you are going to be building in the wrong way. And then when the regulation is enforced, then you have to go back. And it's always difficult to go back and bring back all the data and information that you need. And maybe you have to change things. And also something that you can't really change is your reputation as well. So I think building with having in mind regulation and risk management, I think is very important. So I think, David, what you said about usually at the beginning startup, they just want to build is true. But now, for example, with MiCA and regulation that is coming and is key for mainstream adoption, is key for financial stability, for customer protection, for also ecosystem building, right? I think projects, they are building more with compliance in mind and keeping an eye on risk management. So I think it's super important to allocate investment from this aspect when you are building a company.
There's one thing you mentioned at the beginning that I think is so important and often overlooked, which is that the absence of good compliance or regulatory clarity and risk management is holding back DeFi and crypto, right? That market entrants that we need, large enterprises, large financial institutions, traditional business, are hesitant to enter this market because of compliance issues or regulatory uncertainty, because of the absence of strong risk management. They're scared, or cautious, I think may have been the word you used.
And why do you think it's happening? I mean, why don't these early stage startups hold these regulatory compliance things, and whether they need the third-party services to explain them? Is it too complicated, or what might be the problem?
So I'm an old man by crypto standards, so I've watched a number of emerging technologies, and most of them are under the radar when they start. They don't have a lot of scrutiny, a lot of attention, and they don't have a huge market. So they get 10, 20 years to figure things out before they're subjected to the kind of scrutiny that we have here. Because we've grown so quickly by measures of capital and others, we're being held to a different standard, and the regulators just have not caught up. We don't have enough clarity around what it means to be compliant in most jurisdictions.
Talking about MiCA, it's only applicable for Europe right now, but you think so? If you want to be in Europe, you must be compliant if you are global. Among your clients, do you feel this trend to try to be compliant by the end of 2024, or it's not yet done? I don't know. you're more in operations right now?
I think MiCA is also is really good. I'm so pro regulation. I think it's really important for for the overall industry. MiCA is putting a deadline to projects. Say, if you are compliant, then you have got the opportunity to grow and strive. And I think many projects, they might not be preparing in time. So when regulation is in place, who are the projects that are compliant? And that's are the ones that are going to be in pole position to succeed. So I think we shouldn't look at regulation and, oh, there is a deadline, I'm going to think about when is last minute. No, you need to prepare for that because it's happening. So if you're not ready, then you are going to miss the train and then other people are going to be in front of you.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting. I see a dichotomy. The existing market participants, over-collateralized lenders and liquid stakers and yield aggregators that are already operating today, almost have a stick their head in the sand, hope that it'll never really happen. I think where you see a lot of energy and attention is people thinking about entering the market, that this is almost creating permission for larger companies, existing companies, to begin to enter the market because it'll be safe, or new entities with greater funding to enter the market because it'll be safe. From my perspective, a lot of the guidance hasn't yet been issued on MiCA. So it's, I particularly focus on the dozen plus references in MiCA that talk about security, controls, right, risk. And the guidance to explain what that means is not really out yet. So we're still waiting. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have a lot of guidance. But I mean, enforcement is supposed to begin in January of 25, so it's happening quickly.
It's interesting also if you look at stablecoin as well. So we have seen with the US pegged to the dollar. So now MiCA is basically saying, you can't operate in Europe. And for example, OKX, they stopped trading off the pair with USDT. So if you want to be a stablecoin operating in Europe, you need to fulfill certain requirement and criteria. So I think the stablecoin space is very interesting. And, there is a lot of a risk that has to be managed there.
Jurisdiction after that.
Yes.
We gotta ask the last question that we asked for every guest in our show. What do you think, whether it's for a good or for the bad, that the whole industry will be under KYC and AML? I mean, you need to comply with KYC rules by using any of the Web3 applications. Would it be for good or for the bad?
My reaction is I would deconstruct, I would talk about anti-money laundering differently than know your customer. For KYC right now, most people are already doing that for on-ramp and off-ramp, and it's pretty well understood that not all, but most, there are, you could go buy a credit card with your, but KYC is well understood there. I think, we in the US had Senator Warren try to put forth a bill that, was going to try and KYC everybody. And the idea that any operating protocol had to KYC would be a radical change in operations that would be hard to see implemented, practically speaking. I could give a number of examples of why, which I won't, but of why it just would be impractical at a protocol level to do it throughout the ecosystem for every transaction and everybody operating. So I think it would be a terrible chilling effect if you tried to KYC everything. But I think on-ramping, off-ramping clearly are going to need more capabilities. Although identity, and if you can figure out a way to gracefully, create identity associated with accounts, it would be powerful for the industry. But it's scary for us, right? Because it's
just another step.
A lot of the libertarian values, a lot of the way we've been created, we would need an identity capability that could be, least privilege or least, amount of identity necessary. And, that's still an area that is not a mess, but not clear, not defined.
And it's interesting because I think identity is just such an important aspect and has not been has not become the focus of investment and also public discussion. I think a decentralized identity is super important. When you think about the creator economy and the fact that each of us, we could tokenize ourselves, we are able to share our data, monetize our data, then identity becomes paramount. So being able to have a product, because it's all about good product for mainstream adoption, they actually can offer ways to identify people in a way that is decentralized. I think that is really will be a fantastic goal, but good product. I think I will put the emphasis is really on product. Building product, they can be easily adopted. And avoid the complexity as well. There is a lot of complexity when it comes to crypto.